Okay, do any of these three situations apply to you? Are you considering making a relocation to the greater Seattle metropolitan area? Or maybe you know with 100% certainty that you will be moving to Seattle? Or maybe you're just curious about the Pacific Northwest lifestyle and you want to find out more. If you answered yes to any three of those different situations, you're not going to want to miss what we have coming up next. You know, while moving to Seattle, it can be full of fun adventure, it doesn't come without its own fair share of challenges. As one of the top real estate relocation teams here in Seattle, we've had the privilege of helping a ton of clients move here from all over the world. Today, we're going to take some time. I'm going to discuss with you the top struggles that our clients have faced when making that move. Now, I'm going to give you a ton of information. Not all the information you're going to get is going to be stuff you want to hear about Seattle, but if you're considering relocating here, it's the stuff that you need to hear about Seattle, and we're getting after it right now. Okay, got a great one for you today, and we're getting started right now. One of the biggest struggles that our clients face when making the move here to Seattle and, relocating, looking for that next home is the availability of housing. In today's market, in the environment that we're in, we are just seeing record lows in housing supply, housing inventory, all across the board, from single family homes to townhomes to condos. We're just seeing record low numbers of available housing. Now, a lot of this has been brought on by the interest rate environment that we're in. Rates are definitely a little bit higher than they have been recently, which is making these would-be sellers reluctant to actually sell their home because they have such a really, really low rate on their current mortgage. It's kind of tough to talk them into getting rid of that mortgage and jumping into a higher interest rate that are in today's market. So that's contributing to a shortage in housing availability, which makes it a little bit tougher for buyers moving to this area to find available housing. Now, not every situation is going to be the same, but chances are there might be some competition for you when you do find that house that you actually want to buy. Another big struggle that relocating homebuyers face when moving to Seattle is the cost of living and especially the cost of housing. Now, that's probably the biggest shock for buyers when they come to this area. In real estate terms, talking about cost of housing, Seattle, you're looking around a median home price of $850,000. If you're looking on the east side of Seattle, Bellevue, Kirkland, you're talking significantly more than that. 1.4 for Bellevue, 1.2 for the Kirkland, Redmond areas. So really a high cost of living when it comes to housing, but it's not just the housing, it's everything else that's associated with it. While Seattle is lucky enough to not have an income tax, we do have higher taxes in other categories that compensate for a lack of any kind of income tax that the government is taking in. So what we'll see is higher real estate taxes. You'll see higher gasoline taxes, higher tax on alcohol and goods and sales tax, and it adds up, and just across the board, it's a really expensive place to live. Hopefully you're going to be making more money when you move here to help offset those costs. But probably one of the biggest shocks to buyers when they move here is the cost of housing and the cost of everything else associated with it. Another big struggle that relocating home buyers face when coming to the Seattle area is the amount of traffic that you have to deal with on a daily basis pretty much everywhere around the Seattle metropolitan area. I have these conversations with a lot of people that reach out and contact us right from YouTube, just like you, that are looking for more information, maybe trying to dial in the places that they want to live. And, when you're looking at a map, you can see a city or a suburb of Seattle that maybe 15, 20 miles away. And, in your head, you're probably thinking, oh, that's probably not too bad for commute times. But when you get the real scoop, it's actually like, oh my gosh, it's going to take me over an hour to get to and from work every day, even though I'm only 15 miles away. So just dealing with the increased traffic congestion that, you know, every major growing city deals with, and Seattle is definitely dealing with their traffic problems and doing their best that they can to try to ease those a little bit. They are in the process of building a light rail system that's pretty extensive, running basically north and south on Interstate 5, all the way through Seattle, up to Linwood, down to Federal Way, and it's going to span across the east side over into Bellevue, Redmond, Mercer Island. It's going to service Mercer Island. So help is coming to ease the congestion and the traffic, which hopefully that light rail system will do a lot when it does open up finally. They're talking like 2025 for it to be fully complete. Parts of it are up and running currently, but once it does get fully operational, I think that's going to have a positive impact on traffic. At least I hope, because it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to run into traffic, whether it's on I-5 or I-405 or just about any other street besides those. So deal with it. You know what's going to happen. Know that traffic is around, and you just got to kind of plan it into your day and make sure you give yourself enough time to get where you need to go. Okay, another big struggle that our clients seem to deal with when moving here to Seattle is the weather. And that shouldn't be a surprise to you. Weather, everybody knows that Seattle rains. We get a lot of rain. Yeah, we get it. But, it's not just the rain. It's a few different things. The biggest thing, like for me personally, is the amount of daylight that we get during the winter months. So during the, January, February, kind of the deepest, darkest parts of winter, it seems like we only get like 8.5 hours of daylight. You get up in the morning, it's dark, you go to work, do your thing, come home from work, it's dark, and it just starts to wear on you a little bit from not getting any sun. Some people are affected by seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, which is a real thing. People get depressed when there's such a lack of daylight, and that's a thing here in Seattle. So you have to know about it. You got to be able to deal with it and prepare for it. A lot of people take vitamin D supplements to help with that, but it gets cold, it gets dark, and sometimes it'll rain for like 2 or 3 weeks straight. You pull up the weather app on your phone and you just see rain every day for the foreseeable future. And it's dark on top of that, which, it makes it tough. It's especially tough for people who aren't used to it. Maybe you're coming from a sunnier climate like California, Texas, Arizona, and you're just used to daylight all the time. It's going to be a huge adjustment for you. So something you definitely need to know about and prepare for. But, and another thing that comes along with that is, if you're used to doing outdoor activities year round, sometimes it's tough to do those here in Seattle when it's raining so much. It's tough to get out and hike or do the stuff that you want to do outside when the weather is so miserable. Now, we do have some really great winter outdoor activities like snowboarding, skiing, that stuff up in the mountains that people like to do. That's awesome around here. We have a lot of different ski passes and stuff that you can do that at. But, sometimes just the limitation of available outdoor activities can really start to wear on people after a while. So make sure you're aware of that. And, it rains. It's going to rain, but it's pretty dark too. Another struggle that our clients seem to face until they talk to us is navigating the neighborhoods of Seattle and the different suburbs, different parts of the greater Seattle metropolitan area that they want to eventually call home. Now, Seattle is full of diverse neighborhoods with different characteristics and different lifestyles. You know, you may want to live on the west side, downtown Seattle, or one of those suburbs on the west side of Seattle. Or, you know what, maybe you're more of an east side kind of person that wants to live in the Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland area. You know, and those are two completely different areas that are going to cater to different people altogether. So just being able to decipher which spot is going to be right for you can be tough, and it can be daunting for people who know nothing about the area. But you know, that's where a good real estate team like us can help you out, get you dialed in, make sure that you are moving to the right area. But just learning these different neighborhoods, the different areas that you potentially want to live in, can be kind of overwhelming for people, and we try to make that as easy as possible for you. You know, another struggle that some of our clients do deal with and face is the job market here in Seattle. While we are that tech hub, you know, we have these industry giants like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Nintendo, that all offer great employment opportunities here in the Seattle area. But there are a lot of other people going after these jobs as well. You know, there's competition for these positions. So, you know, to think that you're going to be able to just move here and get the job you want right away because you're in the tech industry and there's plenty available, maybe you will. You know, maybe you'll get lucky and find something right away. But chances are you might have to wait a little while before you land that job that you're looking for. But something to be aware of, you know, just there's competition. Lots of high qualified workers here in the area that are going after those same jobs that you're going after. So keep that in mind, be aware, but there's lots of employment opportunities, so you should do okay. All right, so this struggle is one that people don't normally prepare for when they're making their move to Seattle. They don't know about this and they've never heard of it, but you know, it can be tough for outsiders or newcomers coming into the Seattle area to develop friendships and bond with people. I don't know what it is. It's kind of weird. There's actually even a term for it called the Seattle Freeze. And it just makes it difficult for newcomers to kind of crack into those social circles and make new friends. You know, I feel like it's changing a little bit. You know, we do have a lot of transplant residents that live here now, so I feel like the thaw is coming. You know, it's not such a Seattle freeze as it was, so it's getting better, I feel. But that's one big thing that people aren't really prepared for if they haven't been here before. People just kind of feel like they're a little bit standoffish. They're not rude, just kind of standoffish, and you know, it's just the way it is. But you know, another big thing that you need to be aware of is, you know, the political landscape here in Seattle. You know, Seattle is a very progressive, liberal, you know, traditionally we've been a very democratic state, and you know, if politics don't bother you, you don't get all worked up about it, you know, or you lean left, you know, you'll be fine. But you know, if you're a kind of person that politics are huge to you and you get worked up over them and maybe you don't agree with some of those views, it could be a tough part of the world to live in, because it's everywhere you go. You know, people are not afraid to let you know their opinions, where their political parties lie, and you know, that can be a point of contention for a lot of people, you know, especially in this kind of divisive world it seems that we live in now. You know, just kind of be prepared for the political landscape and the Seattle freeze. Okay, another big struggle that people coming here deal with is, you know, just the amount of homelessness that is around the Seattle area. And, you know, it's particularly bad in the downtown sections of Seattle. You will see homeless encampments, you know, tents set up in the middle of downtown Seattle on the streets, lining the freeways. It's a big problem in Seattle. And, you know, it's something that every major city deals with, but, you know, the housing affordability, cost of living is definitely not helping the situation here in Seattle. So that's definitely a contributing factor to that. But the homeless population is gotten just really, really out of hand, and it's sad to see. And there's really no light at the end of the tunnel, I would say. They're working on it, but it's really, really kind of tough to even go downtown Seattle and not see evidence of homelessness, and it's increase in crime rate, and just when you have your kids with you and just like going downtown, it just kind of brings on uncomfortable conversations and questions brought up by your children, and it's really tough. It's a crappy situation that Seattle's dealing with. Hopefully they'll get it under control and get it moving in the right direction, but it is something that is prevalent right now, and you're going to see it all over downtown Seattle in those areas. Now, you don't see much of it on the east side, and by east side I mean east of Lake Washington, which would be like those Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, those cities on the east side of the lake. You don't see a lot of the homeless issues on that side. It's primarily on the west side in the Seattle core, and it's pretty bad. So be prepared for it, and hopefully it'll get better. Okay, one of the other struggles that our clients deal with, and this one is kind of near and dear to my heart as a father of 2 elementary school aged girls, is just the school districts, the education options here in the Seattle metropolitan area. Where do you want to send your kids to school? What's best for them? Navigating the landscape of different school districts and whether or not we want to go private school, public school, which public school district is going to be best for our kids, our situation, our budget. A lot of those things come into play, and it can make it difficult to really hone in on that area that you want to target. But again, working with a real estate team like ours, we can help you, guide you in the areas that you want to be focusing on, and just help kind of educate you on the education here in the Seattle metropolitan area. But definitely something that can be daunting, overwhelming for parents moving here with school-aged children, and I can relate. So don't worry about that. We got you covered when it comes to schools. Okay, another struggle that may or may not be a big deal for you is the public transportation here in Seattle. It's lacking. There's not a lot of it. I kind of touched on in the few minutes back there, we talked about the light rail system that's coming on board by 2025. But other than that, the transportation system is lacking, to say the least. If you're coming from these big cities that have robust transportation systems, then it's going to be kind of a shock when you get here to Seattle, because there's buses and the light rail that's coming. But other than that, getting around downtown is pretty easy. But if you venture out into the suburbs, it can be difficult. Luckily we have the rideshare opportunities now with like Uber, Lyft, stuff like that, which make it a little bit easier, but that can get expensive if you're relying on that sort of transportation on a daily basis. So if you're going to be living outside of the core of the city of Seattle or Bellevue, then just keep in mind that transportation is going to be limited, and you may need to own your own vehicle to get around from place to place conveniently. So just something to know about and be aware of, that our transportation system sucks. But it's okay. They're working on it. It's getting better. Light rail will be open in 2025, and hopefully we'll be good to go. So that wraps up our video for today. And if you want to learn even more about living in Seattle or relocating to Seattle, watch this video that's popping up right here. It'll give you a ton more information. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.